Hi guys, this is Sam from Fluid Social, talking to you from London, Liverpool Street, and today I want to talk to you about how you can meet women and date women in your city. Now a lot of guys have been telling me, Sam, I get it in London, it's a huge city, it's anonymous, of course you can go out and talk to women in the day, but in my city, women know who you are. People see you in the street. You see the same people over and over again. So if I go out and cold approach in my city, women are going to get wise to it. People are going to see me doing it, and I don't want to get a reputation. So I'm going to teach you how you can meet women in your city without having to put yourself all the way out there and put your reputation at risk or become well known for being a guy that cold approaches in your city. So the way that you want to think about this is not that it's just this one moment where you cold approach a woman. So for example, in London, you're right that I could approach a woman here on Liverpool Street. She probably has no connections in common. No one will notice, no one will care. Nothing will likely come of it in terms of reputational risk. However, if you live in Bath, in Bristol, in Newcastle, in Brighton, somewhere a little bit smaller, that might not be the case. So let's say there's a woman and she works in a shop, in a clothes shop, a coffee shop, restaurant concierge, hotel concierge, reception on the gym. How can you make these women potential connections for you? The way you want to do it is think more long term. Low risk, high reward. So, in my experience, I have a fairly rich history of dating women that work on reception. And the reason for that is that when I go to the gym, I'm very sociable and friendly with the people that are there. So if I meet whoever's on reception one day, we'll have a little conversation, I'll find out their name, I'll figure out what days they're working, and when I then come back the next day, we can have another conversation, and as long as there's no one waiting beside me or no one that needs help, I can continue having a little conversation. Now I'm not flirting. When I meet this person, I'm not saying anything outlandish, or I'm not trying to make it sexual or man to woman or anything like that. I'm basically just finding out more information. So let's say the first time I go in, I find out their name, I find out based on their accent where they're from, and I find out like what days they work in the gym. Then the next time I come back, I can maybe say a word in their language, or I can ask them how their weekend was because I know that they have the weekend off work in that environment. And then what happens is when you repeatedly go to this cafe, this shop, this restaurant, this gymnasium, you can continue to build that relationship with the individual over time. Maybe you remember their haircut or their hair color, and you come back the next time and it's changed. They've cut their hair or changed the color. You can comment on it. Say something like, oh, you've gone for the hipster look today with the change in color or the change in cut. And you can make a little sort of, not flirtatious, but a little comment that's personal and related to her and showing that you remember information from the first time. So another example from my experience is someone that worked in the concierge of one of the apartment blocks I was staying in. One time, the person that came to replace her at night came an hour late. So she was getting frustrated because she wanted to go home. And so then when he came, she was very short with him. She was quite bad-tempered, and she went in, changed all of her clothes into casual clothes, and then left straight out the door, sort of in a rush. And so a couple of days later when I came back, I said something like, oh, it's pretty hot in here today. I bet when you're inevitably made late going home, you're going to run in and change into your stripy blue shorts and walk out in a huff. And that was funny. She would laugh at that because it was a reference to the experience that we'd had before. That was now what I call a personal narrative, a storyline that her and I had created that makes our relationship and our connection unique and shows something about her personality. She doesn't like being made to wait. She gets frustrated when people make her late for things. And so that became a personal narrative, and when I came back, we could play on that, continue that conversation, to the point that when I left that apartment block to travel to another country, I knew this girl well enough that when I asked her out, when I said to her, do you want to, let's go for a drink, what time do you finish today? Or I know you finish at 7 p.m. today, I'm going to finish work around 7:30. why don't I come and pick you up and we can go for a glass of red wine before I leave, I knew that in that moment there was no opportunity for risk or awkwardness. She wasn't going to get awkward and say, go red and get embarrassed and feel uncomfortable. She was either going to say, no Sam, we're friends, I only see you as a friend, stop flirting with me, in a playful way, or she was going to say, yeah, sure, you know where to find me. But the idea here is that you're not taking that risk that you take with cold approach, where it's either she's going to say, sorry, I've got a boyfriend, or she's going to say yes and give you her phone number. You actually know these women well enough that there's no potential for awkwardness or risk. So what I would recommend to you guys living in cities that aren't large and anonymous like London, but maybe a little bit more insular, a little bit smaller, there's a little more risk of reputational damage, I would recommend returning to the same venues, building a relationship over time, to the point that when you ask that person out, or when you suggest going for a glass of wine or a drink or a picnic in the park, she's either going to say, yeah, of course, or she's going to say, no, I'm seeing someone, or I only see you as a friend. But it can be playful, flirtatious, and there's absolutely no risk of reputational damage. So I would always recommend to do this over at least 4 times. So let's say it's someone in your gym. You won't know them well enough, and they won't be in a position of comfort enough for you to take that risk and ask them out before you've come back and forth 4 times. The other important thing to bear in mind is who is around them at the time. If, for example, you're talking to the person that works on the gym reception, or she works on the till as a barista in a cafe or concierge at the restaurant, if her manager is waiting around and every time you talk or flirt with her, there are people around watching and listening, there's a chance that she's going to feel uncomfortable early on because you haven't demonstrated that you have the social intelligence to decipher when you're putting her reputation and her working life at risk. So make sure that when you're talking to them and potentially flirting or being a bit more playful, creating these personal narratives, either the manager is cool with her, the manager is friendly with her and he doesn't mind, or there's no one around to overhear your conversations and to make her feel uncomfortable. Choose your situations wisely, choose your times wisely to have these conversations when you know that there's no risk to her reputation. Just like you're trying to avoid reputational damage, she is as well. And if you put her career or her job in any sense of insecurity or jeopardy, she's going to instantly find you unattractive because she's biologically and evolutionarily wired to be attracted to guys that improve her condition, right? Protector of loved ones is one of the important key biological attraction switches and triggers. And if you do something that puts someone else's safety in jeopardy, a woman, if you cross the road and there's a car coming, she's going to find you unattractive. If you take her to a bar and she gets harassed or assaulted by someone, she's going to find you unattractive. And just in the same way, if you put her job safety at risk by being unintelligent about how you're communicating in front of her authority, she will automatically and innately find that unattractive, and she will associate that with you, which will wipe you off the face of her potential mating field. So build these relationships over time when there's a reputational risk. If you live in a small city, be intelligent. I think of it like a social garden. You plant your seeds in these cafes, in these restaurants, you come back and you water them, and when the time is right, you pick them and you harvest those seeds. So think of it like a social garden. There's no rush. There's no just one moment in every case that you need to make it all happen. You can build these relationships over time, sometimes over months. If you're going to that gym and you don't want to put the relationship in jeopardy, you can just play with her, flirt with her, have conversations over time, and when there's a good opportunity, take it, but don't rush it. Don't force that opportunity on a situation with a low potential yield. Wait until the time is right. Even if the time's never right, enjoy that interaction for its own sake. Enjoy that relationship, enjoy that connection that you're building, enjoy creating those personal narratives and having these conversations for their own sake without the necessity for the reward at the end, and that reward is much more likely to come. Hi guys, this is Sam from Fluid Social, and today I'm talking to you from Brick Lane. I want to tell you about an exclusive group that I'm starting. I've created a Facebook group called the Loner to Lover group, which is based on the system that I've been creating over the past few months that will be released on the 1st of January 2021, called Loner to Lover. Now this system teaches you how to go from a guy who has zero experience with women, a lot of failed attempts but zero experience, to being in a successful relationship, and everything in between. Whatever experience level you are, I've created a system where you can find out where you are and learn what you need to do to progress from loner to lover. Now this Facebook group is going to include exclusive videos, exclusive tips and live Q&As on a weekly basis. It's also going to contain a large group of men and similar like-minded individuals for you to network with, for you to socialize with,